Hi, Facebook friends. Helen Archontou here, CEO of the YWCA of Northern New Jersey. So grateful to have some time with you today on YWTV. As you know, YWTV is all about engaging, inspiring, educating you. And we are excited to, for this day. This is a big one for us at the YWCA. Today we are kicking off our 21-day Racial Equity and Social Justice Challenge. As you know, if you've been following us, it's been designed to create some dedicated time and space to give us some time for more effective social justice habits. We, in particular, want to focus on those that are dealing with issues of race, power, privilege, and leadership. And participants who are joining us for the challenge are presented with a daily email for 21 business days of an article, maybe a podcast, a short video, and a reflection to allow some introspection and understanding of the work. You also, if you want to, have the opportunity to join a Facebook group that will go alongside of it where there can be interaction. And we do hope that you join us. Even if you join a day late, that's okay. We don't mind. We just would love to have you with us. And please share the news about our 21-day challenge with your friends, your coworkers, your co-observants at your faith-based institutions, any nonprofits you're connected to, everyone in your circle. It's a great opportunity for us to build a bigger group to together work on our mission, which is to eliminate racism. And so with that, it's the perfect day for this discussion and to introduce you to these two wonderful women and the great work that they're doing. We have the founders of Social Art Box with us, and they will talk with us today about the project that they have launched and how art really creates a bridge between what people can do in action around social justice and racial justice issues, which is why it's so perfect and an absolute synchronicity and alignment with our challenge for us to be having this discussion today. So we know that art has always been a way to process and manifest emotions. During the most turbulent times, it has provided a symbol and icon for people to gather and to talk. And it absolutely helps us plug into the significance of any and every event in a very different way. So we are excited to talk about this endeavor that Amena and Nikki have called Social Art Box, which is a subscription service that uses art to help white people answer their questions around racial issues, while also affirming Black people and supporting their organizations. So no one can talk about it better than they can. So I'm going to let them give you more detail. But what I'm going to do is tell you a little bit about them. Nikki Brooks is an artist, educator, and activist. Her work focuses on social justice and activism. She's a mixed media artist working with installation art, space, sound, collage, and assemblage. Nikki's artwork works with studying body politics in terms of Black bodies within white spaces. She also has dedicated her life to advocating for the arts in schools and helping students see the power of their voice through visual creativity. So important. And we also have joining us Dr. Amena Johnson. She has a deep commitment to youth, social justice and advocacy and educational equity. She specializes in training, facilitation, and curriculum development. Amena has extensive range of experience in nonprofit and higher education student affairs. She has engaged communities in a dialogue and learning around urban bias, intersectionality, the intergenerational workplace, LGBTQ topics, and diversity and inclusion in educational and nonprofit organizations. We're so happy to have you both with us. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
So, ladies, and the other news is, these are a married couple. So it's interesting. We were also going to get to hear a little bit about the interplay of how, these kind of projects are born, there. So tell us, how did this initiative start? Obviously, you both have really, very interesting backgrounds. How did your individual work bring you here?
So I think, both of us, before we met each other and were married, were doing social justice work and working on anti-racist work and that sort of thing. It's continued in our own careers since we've been married. But when George Floyd happened, um, we had quite a few of our white friends reach out to us, quite frankly, and say, "What can I do? How can I help?" And at first, Nikki had the idea to do an art project called Reparations Box, and Reparations Box was a project, like an art project that would, and kind of like Reparations Box as in donation box. And I don't know if you want to talk about, Nikki, what Reparations Box is, and you know,
Well, at the moment, Reparations Box is now a digital piece, and it my mission was to replay the ways in which uh, the subtleties, if I may say, of whiteness and how it has the choice to either give or ignore to a particular body politic when it comes to me and my wife and other African American or Black individuals around them. And so that's a choice. And with the piece, what I did was I took uh, I manipulated what is that, the animal
ASPCA
commercial, and I juxtaposed that to imagery of Black bodies in terms of lynching, marches, the bloody, I think I had images from Bloody Sunday, images from old slave photographs that you've seen, and I juxtaposed that sound piece with that imagery because in my mind the notion that you see this commercial to give to so many abused animals, and the reason I channeled that notion animals is because of the history of how Black people have been seen in terms of the 1619 and so forth. Like we were like 3/5 of a man, correct? And so we weren't initially when we came here or our ancestors came here, we weren't even seen as human. So I really wanted to create a piece. And on top of that, just looking at how George Floyd was stationed on the ground, the knee and the body language of the officer, which was power and nonchalantness. I can do it because this individual, uh, as many times as happened to Black bodies, doesn't really matter. But in this sense, I think that caused a stir in the whole community. One, people, non-Black people, did not feel that way uh, about Black bodies. Truly had to come out of this box and really advocate and turn into an ally to talk about social justice and not just talk about it, like really stand there and say this isn't me, and I want to make sure that I'm advocating for my friend because this could have been my friend. To get them to take it so personal as if that was the person that was like your best friend. And then in the video, you see captured in video the scenes of people, both white and Black and Latino, advocating for George Floyd. You see an EMT or a fire woman in the video saying you need to get this man help, but feeling helpless. And it was at that moment that's what inspired me to make 1-800 reparation box. That feeling of helplessness, and that feeling of wanting, but yet wanting to give to a cause and be an advocate in that cause.
So the reparations box piece, we were talking about what Nikki just talked about to a friend, and she was like, reparations box as in subscription box? And I thought, well, I've been wanting to figure out how to do a subscription box, but I can't figure it out. So then we came up with Social Art Box, that is an actual subscription service for anyone, not just white people and Black people, but it's a subscription service for people who are interested in Black lives and know that they matter and want to know what to do. And what folks get in that subscription box, and I've got a little example here, is they get a piece of art that's related to social justice. This is actually the September box that just went out. This is Angela Davis, so everyone got this piece. And then they get a little envelope. They get a piece of art that's related to social justice, and then they get an information sheet. This is this month's information sheet. This month is about truth telling. So we're kind of combating some myths. You get an information sheet. This month happens to be 2 or 4 pages actually.
Yeah.
And then you get actions and affirmations. And the actions are for white people, and they're simple. They're actions around racial justice and things that you can do to advocate for Black folks and to end racism and anti-Blackness. And there are also affirmations for Black people to empower them, to affirm them. And white people can give the affirmations to Black people, and Black people can give the actions to white people. Like if you, in the case of Nikki and I, that had friends that said, what can we do? You can say, oh, I actually have an idea. Here's a little card. These are the affirmation cards.
Yeah.
So that's what Social Art Box is and how it became to be Social Art Box.
That's wonderful. And as you know, our 21-day challenge is about, helping give people some information to, start, what I call an introspective process, because I do think that the journey of, becoming a social justice activist, there has to be a personal journey that you go on alongside the collective community, piece that exists. But I love how your project actually makes this link, in such a strong way. Can you tell me from your launch and your box in action about the dialogue that your communication cards and your activities and pass-offs have created, the dialogue between white people and Black people?
Sure. So it's been interesting. So we came with this idea in the time of COVID, right? So people are not interacting with other people as much. But we launched in June. We actually launched on June 19th. And so I talked to my subscribers and I said, how are you all doing this? Because you can't, it's hard to know people. Right. So some folks are sending things to people via email or text, like they're taking a photo of the affirmation card and sending it to a friend. I have another friend who goes to the doctors and interacts with healthcare providers, and she's a white woman and her healthcare providers happen to be Black, so she gives the cards that way. And often I've told folks, when they do give cards to people, don't expect a conversation. Like if you feel like you want to, if I'm a white person and I want to give a card to Nikki, like ask first. Don't just say, here's a card, for you. Ask, hey, I have this affirmation card that I'd like to give you. And you give it to them and expect to just walk away, or a conversation may happen. Right. The folks that I've talked to, they've ended up having conversations with folks, but it doesn't have to be a conversation. The action cards actually are where people are having more conversations. In talking to the subscribers that I asked about this, they said that they're actually having more conversations with other white people about the actions and about what they're doing. As a matter of fact, one of the actions from this month is to take something that you learned in the info sheet and talk to another white person about it.
Right.
But they were doing it before that. They're like, I'm taking these actions and I'm talking about what I learned. So, now that we've started this, it seems like there's just more interaction between white folks to white folks. Now, some of that could be because they're we were talking right before we started taping this, people are interacting with their families and small groups of people. So that might be the only people they're interacting with. They're not as much interacting with other folks to give out the affirmations. We only actually have a few Black folks that are subscribers to Social Art Box. And they have not talked about giving the action cards to white folks. They enjoy the affirmation cards very much. They enjoy the art. Some of the information that we give out in particular this month, where we were sort of dispelling myths about things such as the Emancipation Proclamation, is new information to them, so they're learning things as well. Hopefully, when we are able to actually be in real community with folks more than we are, people will be physically giving the cards away. But right now, it seems like it's a lot of electronic giving the cards away. But white people that are engaging in social art box are talking to each other.
Well, I think, the reality of it is we are living in a very virtual focused world right now. It's great that there's an opportunity, still to be able to utilize it. And, it sounds like it's going to transfer easily when we get back to, being, being in more community together, sitting together. But I love how you, really thought through creating that bridge between people, between white people and Black people, because I think one of the things I hear a lot, and obviously in my role as the CEO of the YW, people come to me, after a tragedy, like the George Floyd murder, and say, what can we do to help? And of course, even though I lead an organization that focuses on racism, I'm a white woman, obviously. So, I look to the Black community to be able to give me the lead of where we can support and what work that we can do. Everyone's not always so comfortable with reaching out, and giving people a safe way to do it is a wonderful way to create, a comfort level that hopefully will continue. So I love, that your work, your brainstorm, has done that, and it's wonderful. So can you give me some ideas about what some of the communication cards look like and some of the actions? Any examples?
Sure. So these are actually, so they'll come in a little envelope and it'll say action or affirmation. It'll come in a little envelope. These are the actions from August. So in August, we talked about white fragility and the ways in which sort of white people don't get to talk about race much.
Right.
They don't. A lot of times, white people don't even think of themselves as having a race. Right. And because of a lot of the guilt around enslavement and all of these things, and I also want to say, I am talking about white people and Black people specifically here. The box is for everyone, but the thing that we are focusing on is mainly racism in the form of anti-Blackness. And that there's racism where all kinds of people, Asian people, Latinx people experience racism, but then there's anti-Blackness that is something very different. It is racism that can be from white people or other people of color. Yeah. And so we're talking about white people and Black people, and we decided to keep that narrow focus, because one of the reasons that we're seeing all of these police shootings and this sort of thing, and we've been seeing before we had cameras to record them, it's because of the history of enslavement in this country, and we're just open about that. But the box is for anyone, just to make that clear. But these actions here, one of them says, identify your triggers. What types of discussions around race cause you fear, anxiety, guilt, defensiveness, etc.? Write a list of triggers and make a plan for how you will handle white fragility when it occurs. So, a lot of these actions are not necessarily actions about you going out and doing something. Right. A lot of the actions are internal. So we started with white fragility because I thought it was important for white folks to understand, like, you may have some triggers when it comes to conversations about race. And think about that, and let's discuss them. So that's one of them, and I'll give you another one. It says, do the labor. Write down 3 times when you have asked a Black person to teach you or protect your feelings around racism. How could you have taught yourself or not centered yourself in that conversation? So a lot of times, white folks go to Black people and say, hey, what can I do? Right. Teach me, tell me what to do. And it's a lot of labor on a Black person to always teach white folks what to do, for one. And for two, when it comes to racism, I'm going to say it. Black people aren't going to be the people to end racism because we weren't the people, and that's created it, right?
Right.
And so white people have to take action. I like what you said, that when white folks do ask you, well, can you do? I think it's important to go to the Black community and say, what do you need? I think what do you need is different than what can I do? Because what do you need means I give you some things to take action on. And you're taking action on my behalf. I've given you permission to do that, and you're not giving me things that I don't need. But what can I do means basically just tell me what to do. You know what I mean?
It's an easy approach.
Yeah.
See it more as like a performative thing. Like another thing that made me think of the way I interpret social art box sometimes is that Serbian performance artist. A lot of people are familiar, well, maybe not a lot, but Marina Abramovic. She's a Serbian performance artist. Whereas in her performance, which is sometimes silence and sometimes movement, she's not telling you what to do. She's not telling you how to feel. She's just doing it. You're taking away from her silence or movement and internalizing your action, but you're coming up with your answers to the questions you have in your head. So the social art box is in similarity, like not performance, but it is getting you to engage your body to do things and engage your thoughts. So it's still an art in some sense. Like you may not be the person painting anything, because I know when people hear the word art, they're thinking sometimes, do I have to perform this art? Essentially, I feel like your body is performing the art of humility and exercising allyship and giving agency and voice. And sometimes you don't have to open your mouth to do anything. Your body can be the work.
Mhm.
And so that's the way I metaphorically keep the social art box in mind for me as an artist.
Well, I think it clearly provides an amazing framework, right? It gives those tools, and then as you're saying, it leaves the person who's receiving it, to do what they need to with it. And that's why I say it's very again so apropos to be talking about this on the day we're launching our 21-day race challenge, because they have a similar intent, in terms of really putting the responsibility in the person's hands, giving them information, giving them something to think about, but then putting the responsibility in their hands in terms of the action. Because at the end of the day, the only way we will achieve our mission and our joint goal of eliminating racism is through action, and it's action that we'll all have to do together.
Yep.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Well, so I can only imagine, and curious to hear your thoughts, that launching something like this, probably for two creative people like yourselves, you must already be 2 or 3 projects down the road about what comes next, because this seems like a gateway to the next thing. So curious, what are your goals for your project? And what do you want to see come of it now? And what are your thoughts for its evolution and impact?
So right now, we're definitely trying to build up our subscriber base. Like I said, we launched June 19th. We have about 55 subscribers so far. And so doing things like this, trying to get the word out, having people understand what it is. More long term, and I think this is not actually that long term, because September's box will be our next box, but it will be our 3rd box. We want to have people, everybody doesn't want to make a monthly commitment. So I want people to be able to say, you know what, I only want, 3 boxes. You can buy a set of 3. You can get, right now we've had these 2 artworks. I showed you Angela Davis. The very first artwork was Maya Angelou. And these are all works by Nikki right now, by the way. And you can get 3, and the next one, it will be a photograph. I think I sent that to you all. It'll be a photograph that Nikki took, and you can get 3. You can learn about white fragility and truth telling. And the next box for, actually, I keep saying October, for September, we'll send it at the end of this month, is going to be about whiteness and what is whiteness. And you can say, I want to learn about all those 3 things, and I'll buy that one box in a set. The other thing that we're hopefully going to be able to launch the next school year is a social art box for kids.
Yes.
And what that'll be, though, it won't be a monthly subscription as much as it'll be more like 10 or 15 weeks in a school district, a nonprofit, a parent, especially if, we're still doing some type of social distance learning. You can buy this sort of set of curriculum and art projects. The kids won't be getting art pieces as much as they'll be getting projects to do.
Right.
So that's the long-term goals for me. I know Nikki wanted to talk about a couple things too.
I think basically it was the kids social art box. But aside from that, if and when we get out of COVID,
I hope we do.
I also would like to have a space in which we can come together and have these kind of forms of creativity, or when you think about the AIDS quote, it wasn't all artists that created the AIDS quotes. It was quoters and people from various families that created the AIDS quote. And so I'm thinking about projects like that where the communities, whether north, south, east or west, can come together in the terms of art space and create together. And it mean more than just a quilt of Black lives or things of that matter, but having, art also is good for creating dialogue. So the other goal that I was thinking about also is I recently received my MFA from Micah, and one of the things in my thesis show that I added to it was Sunday dinner talks. And I did 3 of them, and they were all like very successful. Of course, my wife facilitated, but there was a sense of storytelling there from experience of lineage and family. And it was over dinner. I had a chef from the Baltimore community to talk about his life experience growing up Black as a young person in Baltimore, food deserts. So it was a lot of things to unpack in that Sunday dinner talk. And it was really unique because it was in my thesis show, which was in the Dolphin Gallery. And so there were these objects and things that people could interact with. So I want social art box to also be where it's not just, I look and I read, as a spectator, I'm looking, I'm observing, I'm pulling it in, interpreting, but I'm also acting, making the action, doing the move. But in art, we're using art to help one individual think out of the box creatively. How can I be a much better ally in this cause of social justice?
I love broadening it to include young people, because I can tell you from where the work that I do in my space, we get parents, and I'm a parent myself of 7-year-old twins. We regularly get parents asking, how can we start these conversations around race with our children? The YW is in the process of launching a program this fall to assist with that. But I do think that art really creates a safe space again for children also to be able to explore. And I love creating opportunities for the dialogue. And the Sunday dinner is such a great concept. There's a program out of, and I want to say Colorado, called Race to Dinner. I don't know if you're familiar with that one. Yeah, but it's a similar concept, and we've looked at that as well. I mean, I just again, so much sitting around a table. It doesn't matter sometimes what culture you're from, but sitting around a table is where a lot happens, for families and for people and for community. And so I do think putting a table and food, I'm Greek, so food is a big thing for us and other cultures as well, right? But putting a table and food together really creates an opportunity for people to, put down their guard and be open, to sharing and receiving. So I love everything you're saying and look forward to watching your work evolve, and know that RYW, is here and supporting you, and looking forward to hearing about your evolution. For those of you watching, we encourage you to learn more about this project. Ladies, tell us, where can we find you on social media? We'll put links here so people can get to you.
Sure. We are on both Instagram and Facebook as Social Art Box. So if you just put Social Art Box into the search, we will come up. They see it on the screen there. Wow. And you can also go to socialartbox.com. If you go to socialartbox.com, a little window will pop up and you can sign up for our newsletter. We have a newsletter that we are launching as well. And if you sign up for our newsletter, you will get some free art and some free digital art, and you'll get a free information sheet. So if you just, and it's easy, give us your name and your email, and that's all. We will send you a link to download some free art and a free information sheet.
Well, we will make sure we have here the website so that you can get connected for all of that. I'll be following you, and I'm looking forward to watching the evolution of your work. And thank you so much for making the time to come on today. For those of you watching, we've got a teacher among us, as we talked about, who's smack in virtual learning. So we appreciate that you were able to take the time and make the space for this. On top of that, because I as a parent with kids doing virtual learning, I fully I'm grateful with gratitude for our educators and what they are going through at this time, and the care that they're giving, for our children to get their learning in. So thank you for that too.
Thank you.
So folks watching, if there's someone in your life that you, as you've been watching this, thought to myself, gee, I really wish that they had seen this conversation, do not despair. It's on our Facebook page. You can like it, you can share it. You can share it with one person, you can share it to your page. We do encourage you to take something that you learned today and, talk about it with somebody in your life. It's a great opportunity to have a conversation about these important topics, and also a great opportunity to learn more and connect more. So please do that. Also, again, if you have not signed up for 21-day Racial Equity and Social Justice Challenge, please do that. We'll have the link for you to do that as well. I'm going to keep talking about it until it's too late. Election day is November 3rd, folks. Go to vote.org.
Yep.
Make sure to register to vote. Make sure you know about voting for mail, especially if you're from New Jersey. Know where your polling place is. All that information and more is available to you on vote.org. And there still is time to register to vote. You've got a few more weeks to do that. So please fit that in. A few more weeks to do your census also. Get that in also. Resources in our communities get portioned out by the census and the information that we have. And there are people that are knocking on doors. Someone just knocked on my door over the weekend about the census, even though I'd already filled it out, but I had a lovely conversation with a masked gentleman about the census and the importance of it. So I do encourage everyone to do that. And those of you who are connected to some 10th grade girls in one of the counties that we serve, which is Bergen, Essex, Morris, Passaic, and Hudson. Sorry, it's like forgetting one of your children. I have to say it slowly. But if you're a young woman in 10th grade or no one connected to one of those counties, please encourage them to sign up for Empower University, our Girls Leadership Academy. It's a 10-month opportunity for personal, professional, and empowering growth. We have over 60 women mentors that come and speak to these young women and show them different possibilities for careers and learn about their paths. And there's also lots of great evidence-based learning opportunities, from everything around body image to money management to climate issues, all the important stuff that young women need to be armed with to be continue to be as fierce as we want them to be. So Thank you all for spending the time with us today. If you join us tomorrow at 1 o'clock, we'll be continuing our Share the Mic Now project. We'll be having the brilliant and wonderful Lakeisha Nichols to talk with, and I encourage you to come hear from her. As you know, Share the Mic Now is about amplifying the voices of Black women in our community, and it'll be another great conversation, so I hope you can join us for that.
And Helen, I forgot one thing.
Yes.
That the YWCA, we have an exclusive discount that you can get 25% off 2 months. So you get, 2 months at 25% off. And there it is. And if you put in YWCA Justice when you check out, you will get 25% off your first 2 months.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for creating that opportunity for our viewers and our members. That's wonderful. Folks, it's a great deal and great opportunity. Look, ladies, I'm so grateful to you for the work you're doing. Thank you again for making the time. To our viewers, thank you for making the time to watch today and hear about this wonderful program and project. And everyone be well, and we'll see you soon. Be safe.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.